I'm joined now by Jeff Moon. He's an international trade and government affairs consultant. Jeff, give me your thoughts on the resolution here. What do you make of it?
Well, first of all, the fact that bail has been granted is positive and entirely appropriate. She is an executive of a well-respected international firm and deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. So that's positive. In terms of the implications, though, people have been speculating about what the case is about and what this means, but we really don't know the facts of the case. We need to know exactly what the facts are, the case are, before we can evaluate where we go from here. According to the records that are online that the British Columbia court has posted, this is a bank fraud case. She is alleged to have made misstatements about Huawei's activities in Iran. It's nothing more than that, and there's been a lot of speculation in the Chinese press and the American press that it may be about something more than that. But that's all we have so far.
It's interesting, Jeff Sachs, a professor at Columbia University, came out with the op-ed piece. You may have read it. I don't know if you have. It's titled "The War on Huawei." He talks about how, if this is about sanctions and violating sanctions, which the implications are, that JP Morgan Chase violated U.S. sanctions back in 2011. Jamie Dimon wasn't grabbed off a plane. What actually happens in cases like this is companies are penalized. They pay a huge fine. Individuals are not targeted. So talk to me about this distinction.
Well, this case dates back more than a decade. This case does not come as a surprise. There were documents in an investigation of ZTE from 2011 that described a scheme to avoid Iran sanctions by a company that can only be described as Huawei. Huawei was subpoenaed in 2016. So there are a lot more facts here that we don't know. So I can't compare the facts of those cases with this one, and that's why I would say it's essential for us to get more details from the Canadian and the American governments about what we're dealing with.
In Sachs's piece, he says what can happen in something like this is that you can see tit for tat. We saw that with the tariffs and trade tariffs and the back and forth. How does this change the climate for business if you're a business executive, perhaps from the United States or Canada, traveling to China? And I mean, how does it hurt or impact the relationship between the United States and China, Canada and China? How do you see it going in that regard?
Well, the case is not related directly to trade, except for timing. And the timing comes while we are negotiating very serious trade matters. So that's very unfortunate. And in addition, within the last 24 hours, China has detained a Canadian diplomat, and there's speculation that China might link that case to this case. That would be also extremely unfortunate and send signals about China's commitment to rule of law as well. That would be unfortunate too. So we need to prevent the spiral downward.
Right. And I was talking to an attorney earlier today about bail hearings, because I've covered several of them. Normally they're done in a day, half a day. This has gone on for like 3 days. It's kind of extraordinary. She's been held behind bars now for about a week, more than a week, or somewhere in that neighborhood. Talk to me about that.
Well, I think the standard as to whether someone is entitled to bail is whether that person will be a flight risk. And there are lots of factual issues related to that, as we heard in the previous report. So according to the press reports from Canada, the discussions at the hearings were all about that. I'm not sure why it took 3 days to sort through those issues, but I gather some of them were technical and how she would be monitored and things like that. So that's apparently the reason.
You see this as a legal case. You don't see a political dimension?
Well, that's the problem. Huawei means lots of different things to different people. To the Chinese people, Huawei is a national champion and an innovator in 5G technology. To Westerners, Huawei is a large telecom company and a leader in some ways, but there are questions about trustworthiness as well. And so it's very easy to mix politics into this picture, and that's why we need to know what we're talking about. We need to know what the facts are without expanding them and linking them into other issues, because it would be very easy for us to link this Huawei case into many unrelated contexts that could bottle up the bilateral relationship.
How do you see this thing being resolved long term?
Well, I'm afraid that Chinese people may feel that Canadian courts and American courts are similar to Chinese courts, which report to the Communist Party. In fact, courts in our systems are very independent. So this case will have to be resolved through the courts, and the President or the Prime Minister of Canada cannot intervene. They just do not have that authority. This could take months or years, according to previous precedent, just the extradition part, and then we'll see where the courts take it from there.
Well, Jeff, thanks so much for your analysis. Appreciate it.
Thank you.